Hi, this is Kevin Kraut, son of Ogden Kraut. I want to introduce this book. This is called Ensign to the Nations by Ogden Kraut. What this book is it's a compilation of all of my father's works in about 7 volumes, about the same size. Inside it, it tells a little bit about the different things about my father. Let me read this part right here. It gives me great pleasure to bring forth this book, which my father saw in a dream or vision. He told us the story many times as we were growing up, and to many other people. When my father was dying, I promised him I would create this book, a complete compilation of his works. He was very excited, and with a tear in his eye, he said, "Well, my work is done, and now I'm passing it on to you." Then later, after my father passed away, I was going through some of his things, and as I picked up a notebook, a piece of paper fell on the floor. It was a record of the dream my dad personally typed, which is on the following page. Now what's unique is the preface that I did here. I went in and sat down and said, I got to write a preface for this book. And I thought, I was this terrible author, I couldn't write anything. And I sat down and I said, come on Lord, help me out here. And so then I went out to the garage and I'm going through some stuff and I pulled out this notebook and I thought, what's that notebook? And I pulled it out and this page fell right on the floor. And this is the actual story of Ensign to the Nations and why it was began, this whole book. And so this is what started my dad writing and compiling and everything. And this was 1963, 64, sometime in there at Dugway, Utah. That's a military base. And it's entitled Ensign to the Nations. And it says, I went to bed on the couch in the front room at Dugway. During the night I had a dream where a man robed in white appeared with a large book in his hand. He stood 1 to 2 feet off the ground above me and brought the book towards me so that I could read the cover. It was a very large and thick book inscribed with gold lettering and gilded with gold trim. The book appeared to be in size like Whitney's History of Utah. The name on the book was An Ensign to the Nations, which of course, being interpreted, means the Gospel of Jesus Christ. He opened the book and began to turn the pages slowly, and I began to read. I saw quotations of Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, and many of the prophets, both ancient and modern. The words thrilled me. As the pages turned, I saw different gospel subjects. Some of the subjects I recall seeing were Adam, plural marriage, and united order. As I thrilled to the truths that were written, it suddenly flashed upon my mind that these writings were going to be mine. At this, the dream closed, and when I woke, I thought that someday I would be impressed to write a book. Little did I know then that each of these many subjects would comprise a book. At this time, I had no intention of publishing anything, nor had I ever considered buying an offset press. Within a year, I began to mimeograph some of my materials, which soon led to printing presses. And so that's how this whole book began, how he actually started out, his writings and all of that. Now what's interesting is that Dad, they always say, well, dream or vision, people say that, sometimes they can't tell. And Dad always said that it was an actual real vision, and he said when the angel came, he stood 2 to 3 feet off the floor, and he held the book, and he didn't say a word. And it was all thought, and when he turned the book, and Dad kind of looked in there and saw it, and realized that it was and he questioned in his mind, is this mine? Is this my writings? Because it kind of looked like it. And the angel nodded, said yes. And then he said, and then he shut the book, and he said, he flew right out the window, and he was gone. And then so then he started thinking about it, and then that's when he started compiling a little book called Jesus Was Married. And the book Jesus Was Married was was this book right here. And Jesus Was Married was his first book. He started out writing this as a pamphlet, and then because there was some people at BYU that was interested in this Jesus Was Married topic, and then it slowly, and he went and did 500 pamphlets, and he said by the time I got home they were all sold. And so he printed another 500 and he brought them back, and by the time he got home they were sold. So he said, okay, I'm going to print like 2,000. So he printed up a whole bunch of them, and then he went to work and put a little bit more information in it, told a little bit more of the story. of Christ, more detail, more information about it. He was the first author to ever write anything on Jesus being married. A year later, there was another gentleman named Phipps, and he wrote a book called Was Jesus Married? And so that was right after that. And then of course we got the Da Vinci Code and everything else. Now, and I'll go into more detail about this book in just a minute. Okay.